We are going to be looking at module number 2, lesson 3 today, estimating division. And just like yesterday, where I had some additional pages to help you understand how to do this, we're going to be doing the same thing today. So first things first, let's check yesterday's assignment. So if you could please open up to page 36. You can then check your assignment to see if you have it completed. Please put this on pause if you need some additional time to check it over. Let's turn to the next page, which is the page that I gave you as an additional page. Please check over your work. If you are still struggling with this, I'm more than happy to help you when I return tomorrow. So after you are finished with your checking the assignment, please open up your notebook so that we can look at the problem of the day. So today's problem of the day says a movie theater made $1,840 in ticket sales. Tickets are $8 each for all ages. How many tickets did the movie theater sell? So we're going to take a look at our problem here to try to figure out how it is that we want to do our first 3 reads. So let me get on to let me make sure that is not the one I want. Let's see. Okay, so let's highlight. So the first thing we want to ask is, what is the question? And the question is, how many tickets did the movie theater sell? After we find the question, we want to know what are the numbers. So it's $1,840 in ticket sales and $8 each. Do you want me to say that loud? That little word right there gives us an idea that this is going to be a division problem. So we are going to be dividing. So we're going to take the 1,840 divided by 8. Now, if you're still a little rusty with this, remember, does McDonald's sell cheese burgers? It's kind of rough writing with my finger, but that's okay. So if we take a look at the 1 and the 8, can you divide 1 divided by 8? The answer is no. So we're going to start off with the 18. This is 1800s, but this tells us that we're going to have 3 digits in our answer. 18 divided by 8. If you need to, list your multiples of 8. We have 8 and 16. That's our second multiple. So that would be the number that we would be using to divide. Then we're going to multiply. 8 times 2 is 16. Then we're going to subtract. 18 minus 16 is 2. We're going to compare. Is 2 less than 8? It is. So we are going to bring down. We're going to bring down to 4. So it is going to be 24. So we ask ourselves, 24 divided by 8. We're going to go back up here to the top. Do we have enough tools? Do we have enough multiples to help us solve this? We do not, so we're going to extend it one more to make it 24. And you notice 24 is the same as 24, and that's the third multiple. So the second digit would be a 3. Once again, we divided. 8 times 3 is 24. We're going to now subtract. 24 minus 24 is 0. We're going to compare, is 0 less than 8? And it is. So we're going to bring down to 0. When we bring down to 0, we're going to just have 0. So what are we going to fill in this empty space with? We got to use some digit. If we said it's 8, that'd be 1, but that's too big. So instead, we're going to use the number 0. The 0 hero. When we multiply 8 times 0, it's going to be 0. When we subtract 0 minus 0, it's going to be 0. When we compare, is 0 less than 8? The answer is correct. It is. So then we're going to bring down. Is there anything else to bring down? No, there is not. So our final answer is 230 tickets. And I'm going to spare you me trying to write tickets with my finger. So we are going to move on. After I erase it with my finger. All right. So we're going to move on to the next page. I can estimate quotients of division problems using compatible numbers. Now, I'm going to ask you to please go to this packet that I gave you yesterday. And I want you to open up to page number 3. Look at the bottom, you'll see the page numbers. It's going to look something like this, because we're first going to just talk about what is it we're going to be doing. There's some simple vocabulary. And it says, when estimating division problems, rounding will not work well. You cannot round. Instead, we need to find compatible numbers. Now, what exactly is a compatible number? I'm glad you asked. Okay, so steps to finding the compatible number. The first step you will always have is, you will need to round the divisor to the greatest place value. Let me see if this will work better if I do this. Maybe it will. Then you look at the first 2 digits of the dividend and use math facts to find a reasonable, what's called a compatible number. Okay? Let me go back. And then you use the basic facts to divide by the multiples of 10 to estimate the quotient. Now that sounds all good and fine, but what exactly does that mean? Well, please turn to page 4, where we're going to do some examples. Before we do that, though, if we look at this problem, we notice that it says 46,749 divided by 93. This is the original problem. So if we round the divisor to the greatest place value, so you're going to hear me say this over and over and over again. Always round the divisor first. 93 would round to 90. Then you need to determine the compatible number for the dividend. If you look at the 9 and you look at 46, what number can you multiply 9 times to get close to 46? If you think of your multiples of 9, we start off with 9, 18, 27, 36. Is 36 close enough? Maybe we can go a little bit higher. 36, 45. 45 seems to be close. So we're not going to just round this number to any place value. Instead, we are going to change it to 45,000 because it is a compatible number. And then when we divide 45 divided by 90, okay, we will take out the zeros. If you look carefully, We can take out a 0 here, and we can also take out a 0. Let me do that better with this one. Take out a 0 here, okay? And so that leaves us with 2 zeros. And when we take 45 divided by 9, that equals 5. And that's our final answer. Okay, so let's move on. So now we get to this page. And we see the very first problem is 241 divided by 58. So once again, always round the divisor first. The dividend divisor, 58 is our divisor. So what's that going to round to? It's going to round to 60. So now we need to look at our 6. We need to look at our numbers over here and see that it's going to be 24. What's a multiple of 6 that's close to 24? Well, it's 24. And then we're going to change that 1 into a 0 because 240 is pretty close to 241. So then we just cross out our zeros. We have a 0 there in the divisor, a 0 in the dividend. Do we need any zeros down here? Nope. So then we have 24 divided by 6. 24 divided by 6 is 4. Okay, let's go to this next problem right here. 656 divided by 81. Always round the divisor first. What's the divisor? It's the 81. Once again, we have to keep doing it over and over again to help us understand how to do this properly. So 81 rounded to the largest place value will be 80. So then we look at our 8 and we look at our 65. What multiple of 8 is close to 65? Now, this is where it's really important that you know your multiples. And if you think about it, if you think about your 7th multiple, that would be 56. Well, that's not close enough. How about our 8th multiple? Our 8th multiple is 64. Now, why am I not just simply rounding these numbers? Because it won't work. You can't do that. Not with division. Division is a different animal. So 656 is pretty close to 640. Once again, we cross off the zeros. And 64 divided by 8 is 8. Okay, let me move my picture here so we can look at this next problem. We have 311 divided by 76. Always round the divisor first. 76 is our divisor. You have to do this in order to be able to round properly. And that 76 will round to 80. Now we look at our 3. Well, 3 is not going to be big enough, so how about 31? Now, does it matter if it's over or under? Not really, you just want to be close. So what multiple of 8 is close to 31? You said 32. You are correct. We put a 0 here because 320 is close to 311. Now, we could also say the one that would be below that instead of 320 would be 240, but 320 is closer. So we're going to go with 320. We cross off our zeros. 32 divided by 8 is 4. Moving over here to our next problem, we will have only completed 4 problems, and we really would need to complete 25 to master it. So we're just on the tip of the iceberg here. What do we do first? Always round the divisor first. The divisor is 28, so that's going to round to 30. Say your multiples of 3. Stop when you get close to 26. It should be 24. Now, look here. 24, we still have to put 2 zeros. Now, let me ask you, could you have also said 27? Sure. And actually, 27 is probably closer to 2,659 than 2,400. So we'd really want to go with a 2,700, which would actually equal, whoops, forgot to cross off my zeros, which would actually equal 90. And then we go to this last one. That's 2,271 divided by 72. Always round the divisor first. So 72 is going to round to 70. So if you look at 2,271, look at the first 2 digits. Which multiple of 7 is going to be closest to 22? 7, 14, 21. Now you could go up to 28, but 28 is quite a distance from 22. So we're going to fill in the remainder of the digits with zeros. We cross off the 0. Whoops, that wasn't a very good cross off. Cross off the 0. We put the 0 that's left down. And 21 divided by 7 is 3. So that is our introduction to how to estimate with division. So now we're going to open up our books to the very next page so that we can then look at this in your workbooks. So I want you to please open up to page 43. And if you look at Spark Your Learning, it says, one of Florida's biggest buildings is 900 Biscayne Bay. It stands 650 feet tall. The building has 64 floors. If each floor is approximately the same height, about how tall is one floor of the 900 Biscayne Bay building? So we're going to take a look at what is the, let me see, I'm going to try and move this. Here we go. Okay. What do we need to highlight in our first read? We want to highlight the question. Okay. If each floor is approximately the same height, about how tall is one of the 900 Biscayne Bay building? Second read. What are the numbers? Is 900 important to us? No. It's telling us a location. We have 650 feet tall. And we have 63 floors. So if we look at the labels, we see that they are different. So we know we're going to multiply or divide. But look here. We have the word each. Okay, that tells us we're going to divide. But there's another word in here, about, that tells us we're going to estimate. So our actual division problem would be 650 divided by 63. So if we were to find the estimate, always round the divisor first. 63 would round to what? 60. Now, I'm not going to set this problem up like this because I don't need to. We're estimating. So then I'm going to say my multiples of 6. And do I necessarily have to look at 65? Well, I really don't, because if I look at 65, it's really going to mess me up, because technically I do have enough with just the 6. Multiply 6 times what gives me 6? It's going to be 6. 6 is going to be my perfect estimate because it would be 600. So when I'm actually dividing this out, cross off the 0, cross off the 0. There's 1 0 that remains. And 6 divided by 6 is 1. So 1 floor is about 10 feet tall. Okay, so we're going to move on to the actual pages within this. And it says the Icon Brickell South Tower in Miami is 586 feet tall and has about 60 floors. About how many feet high is each floor? So once again, we have to identify what is the question. And once again, we see the word about how many feet high is each floor. A very similar question. We know that we have 586 feet tall. That's the size of the building. And there's about 60 floors. And once again, we see the word about. So the first question says, write an equation to model the situation. And this problem would be 586 divided by 60. So the question is, does the problem require you to find the exact quotient? And the answer to that is no. Explain. The question let me try something else. This will take me forever and you probably won't be able to read it very well. Okay, the question asks about how many feet high is each floor. Let me just extend this out. And there you go. Okay. So if we move on, we see we have the vocabulary here. that is compatible numbers. They are numbers that are easy to compute with mentally. So it says the iconic, we already saw this problem about the South Tower in Miami. What is true about the dividends that are compatible with the divisor of 60? And our answer is they are multiples of 60. So what are two multiples of 60 that are closest to 586? And that would be, if we think of the number, we look at 586, we do our multiples of 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, still not there. What's after 36? 42. Are we there yet? No. 32 or 42, 48. What's after 48? 54. 54 is the closest. So 54 would be close. What else could be close to? 600. Okay. What are two estimates show your work? Okay, so this would be 540 divided by, and this is where you can see that a fraction can be used to show division, divided by 60 equals, we cross out the zeros, we put them down, one answer would be 9. The other possibility would be 600 divided by 60, and that answer would be 10. So then if we look at the very next question, it says, how does each estimate compare to the actual quotient? So if we look at the answers, we see that 540 is less than 586. 600 is greater than 586. Which one is actually closer? Well, if you look at 586, which one is closer? Is it closer to 600 or is it closer to 540? It's closer to 600. So the actual estimate that would be better would be 10. About how many feet high is each floor? 9 to 10 feet. So let's move on to the very next page. Kadeem needs to travel to Florida for his job. The cost of the trip for 28 days is $2,475. About how much will this trip cost Kadeem each day? So model the problem with an equation. Are you asked to find an estimate or the exact number? Well, let's first start off by highlighting. What is the question? About how much will this trip cost Kadeem each day? Okay, the numbers. $2,475, and it's in 28 days. But it does say this word about. And there's the other key word, each. That tells us it's a division problem. Okay, so if you model this problem, it would be 2,475. I'm going to use a slash mark for division, divided by 28. Do I need to find the exact answer? No. They want an estimate. Because of the word about. Okay, so let's see if I can get back on there. Nope. Oh, well. Sometimes you might have to change both the dividend and the divisor to make the numbers that are compatible. Duh. Always change the divisor first. So to what number might you change 28? That would be 30. Based on your answer, what numbers might you change 2,475 to find two different estimates? This is one of those that I'm not too crazy about, because you would estimate it to be either 2,400 or 2,700. But I think it's pretty obvious that 2,400 is much closer. How do you choose the numbers? I would choose, let me move my picture out of the way. I would choose 2,400 divided by 30 equals, cross out the zeros. There's only going to be 1 0 left. 24 divided by 3 is 8. So the answer would be 80. Now, it says to use, okay, just a second. I'm having some technical difficulty. Okay, so it says use basic facts and patterns to estimate the quotient. I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. Take your pencils. No, thank you. I don't know about you, but I'm getting kind of tired of doing this. So let's move on. So let's do the check understanding. Every year, individuals race to the top of US Bank Tower in Los Angeles. The tower has 1,679 steps. A racer reaches the top in 16 minutes. About how many steps does a racer complete in 1 minute? As always, we first need to find the question. Question is about how many steps does a racer complete in 1 minute? What's our numbers? It has 1,679 steps. He gets to the top in 16 minutes. Okay, you'd probably need to call an ambulance for me if that were the case. So, and it says the word about. So we are going to have the problem of 1,679 divided by 16. Now, if we really look at that, we always round the divisor first. So if I was to skip out here to the 16, of course, it's not going to let me do that. So if I go out here to the 16, I would say the 16 is going to round to 20. If I look at my 20 and I look at my 16, and I'm just going to look at the 16, which one would be closest? I'd say 16 would be closest. The only other one we could possibly use would be 18, and that's not close enough, so that's not even worth it. So I would say it's going to be 1,600. We're a little bit offline here, but that's okay. You get the idea. 1,600 divided by 20. It would be, cross off the zeros, put the 0 down. 16 divided by 2 is 8. So that would be 80. 80 steps per minute. So that is it for today's lesson. Today, you do have just one page to complete for the assignment. It's on your own. You're going to be doing the same thing over and over again. You're going to be estimating the divisor first, round the divisor first, and then you're going to find a compatible number for the dividend. That will help you to find the answers for these. Well, I hope you have a good night. Get your work done. Be working on your IXL skills and also be working on your review number 1. I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.